Oh, thank you so much for having me. I have to fix that, but I'm really confused. Why are you guys clapping? All I hear from the left is how much you guys hate immigrants. It's like they don't know what they are talking about. They don't? I could not agree with you more. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Bogdan. Came here from Eastern Europe, Romania in 2011, and I came here as a dayer with my best friend. In the summer of 2010, we were talking, where should we go? And we both agreed that we should come to the United States and see what this country is all about. And look, 15 years later, I am still here. Now, I am the founder of Immigrants for Liberty. The goal is very simple. There are a lot of immigrants in this country that have been naturalized that don't know how our system works. And I find that very sad. Sadly, what's even more sad is that most of my friends that are immigrants that have been naturalized, they cannot put a few sentences together why we have an electoral college, why we vote the way we vote, why the system is the way it is, why we have the number of House representatives the way it is, and how the American system works. So the mission is very simple. Empower and ignite immigrants and give them the tools to chase their own American dream in this amazing country that, at the end of the day, it's opening the doors to us. None of us have the right to be here, regardless of what the left is saying. We are all privileged and deeply humbled, I know I am, to be here and especially to stand in front of you guys and to talk. I came here with $500, and I am where I am today because of this country basically opened the doors and gave me the opportunities. I am also the co-founder of United Gen USA. We focus again on civic education via conservative influencers. What the left is doing so well and on our side is not happening that much. We need to do a better job uniting people and educating people and the average conservative in this country, because not so many people are watching the news anymore. A lot of people are getting their news and their ideas and their reasoning and their rationale and the way of thinking from social media. So why don't we take advantage of that and use these social media influencers that are on our side of the aisle, that promote our ideas like freedom, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and all of that, and use them to promote what makes this country amazing. Because I don't know if you guys noticed, in 2020, when COVID happened, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit in a second here, a lot of people, and especially the younger generation, went to social media. Democrats owned the Gen Z, both females and males, when it comes to social media. As of last year, I am happy to say that most of young men in America identify conservative. So we made a little bit of movement because we finally realized that, hey, social media is not that bad. We can use it to our advantage, we can use it to educate people, we can use it to mobilize people, and we can use it to unite people. I don't know how it happened, but I came here in Texas in January of 2024, and all of my friends in this state we met through social media before I got here. And somehow most of them are in the agriculture industry and in the Western industry. You mentioned earlier that I ride horses. It's my favorite thing to do, is the horse, you, and God. And that is it. Now, I was never political. I never cared about politics. Not in high school, not in college, and even in Romania and Eastern Europe. We have organizations like Turning Point USA. They come through college campuses and they try to recruit students and get them involved. I never cared. Just a few years ago, I found out that in my home country, Romania, we elect the president for 5 years, not 4. So that should tell you the political engagement that I had as a student. But then, fast forward to 2020, COVID happened. And we saw what Democrats and the big governments, not just in America, but all over the world, have done. We had restrictions, we had lockdowns, we had mandates, and all of a sudden, it felt like I immigrated to North Korea, not to the United States of America. And the cherry on the top, I was in Vermont at that time. So you can imagine how a conservative immigrant, or an immigrant that was leaning more conservative, handled all the hippies and liberals in Vermont. But that was not enough. Shortly after that, during the lockdowns and not going to work, I discovered TikTok. Every young person's favorite social media platform. And if you're familiar with how the algorithm works, the more you watch something, the more it's going to show you that something. And for better or worse, all the content that I was seeing was Americans hating America, Americans criticizing America, Americans hating capitalism, and Americans thinking that communism and socialism were the way to be. And I had to say something because I've never been the guy to just bow the head and say, yes, ma'am, and just move on with my day. And before I knew it, I was engaging and hosting political debates with people from all over the United States. And people, they hated capitalism and thought that socialism and communism were the way to be. Soon after that, I started expanding a little bit, and I was talking about American culture and American values. And I said a lot of dumb things. Again, I was never political. I didn't know much what I was talking about. All I knew was that this country opened the door for me and gave me the opportunities that I had. And it was very weird for me as an immigrant from a former communist country to come to the United States and to hear Americans in the best country on the planet with all the opportunities that respectfully you all get from the day that you are born, and we take for granted sometimes, and we only get them as immigrants when we come here in our 20s, 30s, 40s, and so forth, and so on and so forth, and to hear Americans take those opportunities for granted. And there was just a fire under my butt, so to speak, pardon the language, and I started doing debates with everybody and challenging people to think a little bit beyond what is bad in this country and to appreciate what this country has to offer. There's a reason why everybody wants to come here. Regardless where you are, everybody would sell a kidney to come to the United States. As of 2020, I'm going to give you some stats. As of 2020, the United States had 50 million immigrants that we knew about. Let's just clarify that out of the get-go. And the next country was Germany at 15. And look what's happening in Germany. You're being arrested for things you say on social media. So we should be absolutely grateful to be here in the United States. And I want to share some slides. The quality is not going to be the best because they didn't have Sony cameras back then. But this is where I come from. This is how it was in Romania under communism. The picture, the slide on the left is a bread line where people were waiting in line in the morning to get bread. And not to get a full loaf of bread or two breads and you slightly seat yourself like you go at Whole Foods. It was rationed based on the size of your family. So if you were one person, you'd get part of a loaf of bread. If you had children, maybe you'd get a loaf and a half, and so on and so forth. And on the right, you see shelves fully stocked with everything that people would like to eat. This is a butcher shop in Romania during communism. And this here, this is a punch card. This is how my parents used to get bread. And you had it by dates, and you'd get an axe or a punch. Some have holes, had holes, and you'd get food with this. Only for an American that never left their home state to think that this was better, or to think that their opinion of how they would implement this would be better. And I want to point out on the bottom there, I'm going to translate what it says. It says that losing this card voids your right to bread. Now, as an American, would you ever think about something like this? Not really, right? But then, in 1989, the Romanian people decided that enough is enough, and they had a revolution. And I would like to point out that they were armed. So the Second Amendment is something that maybe we should not take for granted and cherish here. We had a revolution in Romania. People have had it enough. And these two people, Nicolae Ceausescu and his pathetic wife, there's just no other way to put it. They stood trial and they were executed against the wall on Christmas Day in 1989. And it's probably one of the best Christmas stories out there, if you ask me. I didn't know if we would have any young children here, so I left those pictures. I left them to the side. And I want to fast forward and just to kind of bring up the resemblance and the similarities, because now we live in 2026 in the United States of America, and in New York City, the economic hub of this amazing country, elected mayor, so wild to say that, Zoran Mamdani to be their next mayor. And we all have seen how that has been going. And then he went on television and he said that we need to replace the rugged individualism of the United States with collectivism. So I thought that maybe you guys would like to hear from an immigrant and to tell you that individualism is what makes this country amazing. Because of individualism, thank you. I appreciate that. Because of individualism, we have the things that we have in this country and pushes people to be better. And his idea of collectivism is what starved people all over the world where communism was tried. The Russian Revolution was represented by civil war, terror, and famine, 10 to 15 million deaths. Stalin's period, 10 to 20 million deaths, collectivization and gulags. Mao in China, again, famine, 40 to 65 million deaths. And North Korea, prison and labor camps, which are still active today, 1 to 3 million deaths. About 100 million people died because of communism. And the reason why I'm bringing all of this is because this is my why. This is part of the reason why I do what I'm doing. Because we cannot have that here. And I'm not trying to scare anybody. I don't think communism is knocking on the door. But like any good idea that spreads, so do bad ideas. So a few things that I want to share with you guys. When I moved to this country, I brought with me something. I think I brought something with me, work ethic and a deep love of freedom. And I believed, like millions of people do, that in America, those values would be celebrated. But somewhere along the way, I noticed something that was a little bit strange. People like me, foreigners, we were either ignored, or worse, we were told to stay quiet. Now, I'm an immigrant who embraced the American culture. The day I got my first green card, I went and I got a gun. It's just, it felt like the right thing to do. It was back in the time when ammo was very cheap, so you could go to the shooting range every other weekend without feeling it in your wallet. I didn't come here looking for handouts, like most of the people that were logged in high luxury hotels in New York City under the Biden administration. We come here for opportunity, and I did as well. The opportunity to build something, to earn something, and to do something in this country, and to live and chase my American dream, not just talk about it. And yet, when I speak out in defense of these traditional values, like securing the border, making America a better place, and faith, I'm called a traitor to my people by the people that claim that they care about immigrants, and I'm talking about Democrats and the left. Think about that for a second. A traitor for believing in the very principles that made me come here, and the very principles that make this country the beacon of hope worldwide. Why? Because it didn't fit the narrative. It didn't fit the narrative that most immigrants must think one way, vote one way, and stay in one political lane, that of the Democrat Party. But here's the truth they don't want to say out loud. Millions of immigrants in this country, believe it or not, are conservative. You look at Florida, even in California, if you go to Southern California, a lot of immigrants there that are very, very conservative. And let's not forget, Louisville, Kentucky, the second largest Cuban community in the United States of America, majority of them, trust me when I tell you, they are conservative. I lived there for almost 2 years. We believe in law and order because we've seen what happens without it. We value the Constitution because we come from places where the Constitution exists just on paper. My country is the best example of it. And we believe in strong borders, not because we hate our fellow immigrants, but because we respect what it means to enter this country legally through a point of entry. We didn't cross oceans, deserts, or borders to recreate the systems that we escaped. That is something that is very important for me. When I talk with other immigrants, I always make the point to understand where we come from, because only then we will appreciate what we have. And if you come to this country and you don't appreciate what you have, with all due respect to everybody, you don't belong here, especially if you're an immigrant. We come here for something better. And that's exactly why our voices as immigrants matter, and as conservatives as well. But right now, conservative immigrants are underrepresented in media, in politics, even in organizations that claim to speak on our behalves. And that's not by accident, that is by design. We are told to be grateful, but also be silent. We are told politics is not our place, and we are told to sit down, keep our heads low, and let others speak for us. Let's be honest, there's no humility, there's control, and it's the organic behavior of the left. Going back to what happened during COVID, and going back to the BLM riots, everything that the left is doing is through control, censorship, and silencing those that disagree with them. And it's time that we say enough, because silence doesn't protect opportunity, it erodes it. And if we want to protect the values that this country has and the values that this country is offering us, faith, family, and freedom, we need to speak up. And we must show up, not just in our homes, but also in our communities, just like you guys are doing here every time you guys meet. And the state capitol, and the city council meetings, and the school board meetings, and to get engaged as much as we can. This is something that I'm very, very adamant about. Voting is not enough. You need to speak up, and you need to talk with your friends as well. There's always going to be disagreements, there's always going to be different opinions. But the only way to move forward, and the only way to create change, and the only way to move forward and win these elections is by civic engagement. And with all due respect for everybody in the room, the left is kind of beating us on it. We can do a little bit better. So this message, everything that I'm saying, is not just for immigrants. It's for every conservative in this country who knows something is off. Your silence, if it is being interpreted as surrender, and is costing us more than you think. We can't have it. So if you're a conservative, or even a conservative immigrant, your voice matters now more than ever. You should not be intimidated, you should not apologize for your beliefs, and you definitely should not be asking for permission to get involved. Run for office, join your local party, support candidates that are actually having the values that you're looking for, and then hold them to a higher standard. Speak up even when it's uncomfortable to do so. Because courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting in spite of it. And for the adults in the room, be the example the next generation is watching. We all need mentorship. Because whether you realize it or not, we are learning. It's either from your action and courage or from your silence. Like many immigrants, I didn't come here for politics, I came for opportunity, but I quickly learned something. The policy decides everything. It decides everything from if our children will get a quality education, whether our taxes are being built, are used to build, or they are being used to waste, and whether our businesses can grow or get buried in regulation. Look at New York, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and California, where people are living, and not only that, businesses are living, because it's very hard to do business in those states because of the regulation. So the question isn't should you get involved, the question is can you afford not to? Because political participation isn't just about voting, it's about showing up, it's about speaking up, it's about running for office, and also standing in the gap when your community is being misrepresented. And that is why I wanted to talk with you guys about today. Thank you so much for having me. I was told I have half an hour, but I want to leave some time for Q&A if anybody has any questions. Thank you.
Questions, anyone?
Yes, sir.
So what about some of the, you said that there are a lot of conservatives in the immigrant communities.
Mm-hmm.
What about conservatism is appealing to the immigrant communities?
You have to understand that a lot of the immigrants in this country, they come from Latin countries. Cuba, Venezuela, Mexico, Nicaragua. And their values, in my personal opinion, are very similar to the values of the United States. Also, their faith is very similar to the United States. And when your values and your faith are aligned, everything is going to fall into place. And we need to take advantage of this, and we need to unite them, and we need to give them a voice, and we need to get them involved. The left is doing a spectacular job getting immigrants involved in this country. Look, turn on the news. Watch CNN, MSNBC. Anybody here watches Joy Reid? How about Jasmine Crockett? No? Nobody? Look at the pandering to the immigrant community, right? And it's all talk. Is the gaslighting? Is the misinformation? They are not blatant lies. That's why it's very hard to get them on it, because they are not directly lying. But they will twist the narrative. They will use words in a particular way and phrased in a particular way where anybody watching is painting a clear picture that in reality is not the same. We just saw the House hearings where Kristi Noem, former secretary, Kristi Noem, said that veterans have been arrested and detained and deported by ICE. And we just had a news article a couple of months ago about a veteran that served the country for 34 years that has been deported by the Trump administration. And on the bottom of the article, all the way to the end, he did a drive-by shooting a 19-year-old pregnant lady. That should have been the headline. But there wasn't the headline. The headline was Trump bad, immigrant that served the country deported. They have the narrative. Most of the media is left-leaning. And still they are barely winning. So it's up to the conservative movement, to the Republican clubs. When you guys see an immigrant, talk with them. Invite them to a meeting. Welcome them in, because if we don't welcome them in, the other side will welcome them in, and they already are welcoming them in. They haven't done anything for the immigrant community, and I don't need them to do anything for me. I'm constantly, when I debate people, when I'm doing these political debates on social media, on TikTok mostly, I'm constantly being asked, what did Trump do for you? I don't need him to do anything for me. I need him to do something for the country, because if the country prospers, guess what? All of us prosper here. That's all I need. I don't need him to know who I am. I'm nobody. I'm just another guy with a funny accent. That's it. So we need to do a better job on our end. And this is not intended as criticism. But right now, they have a big voice when it comes to the immigrant community. And I have friends that are not necessarily left-leaning. They are not necessarily politically affiliated. But they have an issue with what is going on, specifically with immigration enforcement. But they have no issue when the Biden administration lost 300,000 children. They had no issue when the Biden administration shut down the tip line and the call center for those children that were crossing the border illegally to report child sex abuse. Why do you think they had no issue with that? Because they didn't know about it. Because nobody told them. Because they're not going to hear about that on MSNBC and CNN and all NPR, which don't even get me started on NPR. Coming from a former communist country, having my tax dollars going to a media outlet, it's absolutely insane. That's my answer to you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
When the opportunity arises, and one of us are face-to-face with an immigrant citizen, are there any specific talking points that in an elevator speech, in a casual conversation?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
The worst thing that you can do is have a speech ready and memorized, have a genuine conversation just like me and you are having right now.
Thank you.
Where are you from? What brings you here? You know how many times I'm being asked today where I'm from? I usually say Alabama. But we're going to move on from that. That's the 5-year-old in me. Just have a genuine conversation. It can be something easy. You know, just like, I don't know, just like in dating. You start with small talk. Hey, how are you? Where are you from? And then you can ask, what brings you here? Why do you like America? Are you happy to be here? How is it compared to your country? What do we have here that you don't have in your home country? And if they say guns, definitely bring them to the next meeting. But have those genuine conversations. If you're not genuine,
Just be sincere.
be sincere and be direct. Don't sugarcoat it. We don't, where I come from, we don't sugarcoat things. We are very direct. It hasn't done me very much good in this country, but anyway, moving on. Have a conversation. You come with an immigrant, have a conversation, introduce yourself. People like to hear about other people. Call them to one of these meetings. Tell them about what I do.
And what do you do? What is your role?
My role is to make sure that immigrants understand, or what I would like my role to be, how about we do that, is to make sure that immigrants understand that they don't have to vote Democrat just because Democrats say so. We come here again for a better life. We come here for opportunity. We come here to chase our American dream, not to be gaslit by the left. And if you already are doing that, you come here for a better opportunity, you, in a way, organically have appreciation for this country. So we need to take advantage of that and not turn that appreciation for this country into resentment, and build on that, use that as the foundation, and make sure that they understand, and also that we educate them why this country is worth it.
Are you an educator, or do you get a group together, or do you solicit immigrants?
I don't solicit immigrants, no,
You
sir.
provide them an education?
Yes, everything I do is through social media.
Okay.
So everything I do is through social media. I basically talk in a camera all day long.
Let me add, it's very colorful talking. Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
I'm working on it. Yes, sir.
So you came here kind of on a bet with your good friend back in 2011.
Yes.
And you said, I'm still here. Is your friend not here?
No, he went home, got married, and he has 2 beautiful children.
Oh, good for him.
Yes.
So, and then you mentioned college in Romania. What did you study there?
I studied computer science.
Okay, so when you got here, is that what you did for work?
No, sir.
What did you do?
I didn't. I worked as an HR and operations manager for a retail company. My degree was not recognized when I came here. So as a new immigrant, you start from the bottom. I came here with $500, guys, like it's, you know. So when you start from the bottom, you can't afford to go to college. Probably if I would have been in California, they would have paid for it with your taxes. But it didn't happen. So I built a career as an operation and HR manager for a retail company.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to America.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really grateful to be here, and it's a lot of times when I think about it, it's very humbling. Yes.
Bogdan, when I first met you, you kind of explained to me something that seems like it made so much sense, but I hadn't really heard a lot of people in the GOP talking about it. You basically said that if we can flip every legal immigrant.
I did say that.
Can you kind of tell everyone about that, and then also tell everyone how we can help?
So I'm of the firm belief, and this idea has been also cemented a little bit by somebody that I really looked up to by the name of Charlie Kirk. I'm a strong believer that if we really educate immigrants and we give them the time of day, we will never have to worry about elections ever again in this country. Yes, we might have to worry about local elections and all of that, but at a national scale, I'm a firm believer that immigrants can swing the vote towards the Republican Party like he has never done before, but there's a lot of work to be done. That's where I stand on that. And again, going back to what the left is doing, they are really involved with the immigrant community, and on our side, we can do a little bit better. The reason why I started doing what I'm doing is because when I started to care about politics in this country, I tried to get involved, and there was nothing out there for me. There were no organizations for conservative immigrants. There were no educational resources for conservative immigrants. There was nothing to explain to me. There was no ChatGPT. There was nothing to explain to me, how Title VIII works, or how the judicial system works, or right now what we are seeing that ICE agents need a warrant to arrest somebody. They don't. They really don't. So I think that education is the one thing that if we focus on with the immigrant community in this country on a national level, I think that if we really do it right in 10, 15, 20 years, Democrats don't stand a chance to win elections. As to how to support me, again, United Gen USA, we have our launch with Texas Public Policy Foundation April 8th through the 10th in 3 weeks, 2 weeks after CPAC. UnitedGenUSA.com, you can make donations. We will really, the mission of it is to focus on civic education via social media and influencers.
So
Very simple.
when you say reach out and engage and educate, what in your from your perspective, what does that look like?
What he asked, if we come across any immigrant, what should we talk with them about?
But I mean, I'm gonna go up to somebody, I mean, it has to be, don't you think it needs to be a little more structured than just talking?
Oh, absolutely.
randomly? I mean.
Absolutely. So you can talk about the legal system, you can talk about the immigration system, you can talk about what this country offers, you can talk about all the benefits and opportunities that this country has, that all of us here are taking advantage of it. And my favorite, my absolute favorite, the importance of being a business owner and to own a home.
All right, so maybe I didn't make my point. So are you talking about going out to churches? Are you talking
Yes.
about going out to events?
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to get from you.
Everything,
Okay,
all of them.
everything he didn't say.
No, churches, events, charities, community events, meetings like this one. Use social media. Use social media. When you go home, take a look on the Democrat side. I don't know what Democrats here are doing in Collin County, but if you look at Dallas Democrats and Dallas Young Democrats, their entire social media page is just education and civic engagement. How to register to vote, how to go out and vote, how to speak at the city council, how to go to the school board meeting. That's all they do. That is all they do, civic engagement. And it's time for us to kind of catch up a little bit. I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
So
Here we go.
what is your overall assessment of the Trump administration in the second term of Trump?
The biggest thing that I wanted looks like it's happening, which is voter ID. That is something that I really, really cared about. And also immigration enforcement. I like that the border is locked down. There have been 0 people that crossed the border and have been apprehended that were allowed in the United States. A lot of people are talking that we need to change the system. A lot of people are talking that the system is hard. The system is not hard. I'm here. Hi, how is it going? The system is hard if you cross the border illegally. We were talking with some gentlemen outside when we got here. The system is extremely hard if you cross the border illegally. If you cross the border illegally, it's going to take you 20 to 30 years to get any sort of legal status or permit to stay. But as long as you enter the country through a legal point of entry, the system works in your favor. Then take advantage of it. I don't care, but we need to know who is here. We had millions of people under the previous administration that were allowed to cross the border willy-nilly, and we don't know who they are. And all the people that are in favor of that, they lock their doors at night. But when it comes to the southern border, let's just have it open for people to just cross whenever they want. And I know, so wild as an immigrant to talk about securing the border, right? So I'm being told by the left all the time. We can't have that. We had people that were apprehended at the southern border that were on terrorist watch list. And 18 of them were released in the United States. I'm sorry, we have the right to expect our government to keep us safe. I was in Europe this summer in September, and we were out having dinner at probably 2 a.m. And I saw women alone walking on the street through the downtown of the city that we were in. It was such a culture shock. Because here, you would not be safe. Would you feel comfortable doing that, Michelle? You wouldn't. I don't blame you. So we have the right to expect our government to keep us safe. Here in Dallas, we had a guy that was beheaded by an illegal immigrant that has been arrested before. That is absolutely insane. We just had in New York City a guy that threw another person on the subway tracks. Again, illegal immigrant, arrested several times before, that was just released back in the community because God bless sanctuary cities. So all of that has to change, and I'm glad that they are doing something about it. I don't think that we should have 50-year mortgages, though. It's a bad deal altogether. There's no way. Yeah, it's okay. We need to criticize our side a little bit. Otherwise, we really are in a cult. Yes, sir.
Have there been any limitations on the numbers of legal, obviously, no legal immigration at all?
I don't think we should.
Legal immigration.
Yes, I don't think we should have numbers. I think that we should bring people in based on what the country's needs are. I'm very big on putting America and American citizens first.
Yes.
That is something that I'm very big because I come from a place where it's not being done and people are living in droves. That's how it's in my home country. Romania is not put first by the Romanian government. Romanian citizens are not being put first by the Romanian government. And we leave. We go through Europe, we come to the United States. So I don't think we should have numbers. I think we should have people come in based on what we need. Immigration should be for the benefit of the country, and a benefit to the immigrant is the bonus to it.